A lot of people will start to think of selling and then within 12 months they've sold. But my advice would be to wait, pause, give it 24 months. So when you do come to sell, you get the most out of it.
Hi, Mit. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Sunny. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so I'm very excited about our conversation today. You have been our partner for many, many years. You are a great entrepreneur. Started your MSP in 2002 in UK, grew it to a best-in-class MSP with a lot of growth and very healthy business that you have built with over 150 customers. And then you have been part of a lot of peer groups, and you are a great go-giver. I truly appreciate your entrepreneurship and the way you think about business and the way you build businesses. And it was great to connect at Orbit. I think that was a month ago or something. When
Yep.
I met in London, and I got to know your new initiatives. Serving on the board for different companies, advisory boards, to having your other entrepreneurial kind of ventures that you have started, from real estate to other places. And I truly appreciate you taking the time to join me today.
No, I appreciate you having me here, like I said.
Yeah, so let's get into, I got excited about the topic that you shared, like you presented at Orbit, and sell or not sell. And it kind of really, the angle that you took or the thinking that you shared, that was very unconventional. And I want to go deeper into that conversation. But before we go into that conversation, Matt, my first question to you is, what is the greatest lesson that you have learned over time that you want to share with the startup entrepreneurs, where they're just kind of really building their business ground up? They're just starting that journey.
So I think there have been so many lessons I've learned over the years. I suppose the first thing that I would say to that person is don't underestimate the amount of planning you need to do in your business. So what I often see in startup businesses, there's not enough planning that goes on.
Mm-hmm.
So really planning out what year one looks like, what year three looks like, and where you want to get to in year five. Generally speaking, if you set out with a plan, you're more likely to actually achieve that plan. The second thing that I would say is invest in yourself. And what I mean by invest in yourself, I think studying probably 20 or 30 entrepreneurs over the last sort of 3 or 4 years, the ones that are really, really successful actually spend time learning, right? So this is not just learning off your peers, but reading books, watching things. I think we're in an environment now where it's easier to learn than it ever has been.
Mm-hmm.
And there's lots of great content on YouTube, even podcasts, like listening to podcasts. You can really actually advance yourself and move forward. And I think that's one of the things why I was successful, was because I love to learn. I used to learn a lot of stuff, and I still learn a lot of irrelevant stuff, but sometimes I learn some relevant stuff as well. So I think those are my kind of two key things: planning and making sure that you're investing time in yourself by learning and continuously learning.
That is so amazing. I truly believe in that. And, I meet a lot of entrepreneurs as well. And one thing that they have common, like people who are very successful, they take that purposeful pause to plan. And one thing that you shared with me is that, when you started, or when you adopted that practice of Monday taking thinking time, like sitting on your thinking chair and just to think and plan, and everything changed. And the second is learning, because growth comes from you taking time to learn, that continuous learning that you mentioned. And when you grow, everything and everyone around you grows. Now, the second question is the most common mistakes that MSPs make. It could be that probably planning and not taking time to learn as well. But anything else comes to your mind? Like, what are the common mistakes that MSP owners and leaders make?
I think one of the things that I used to witness when I was in a peer group is we used to call it shiny toy syndrome.
Yeah,
So people will go to an event or they'll go to their peer group and they'll come up with this idea all together and then they'll start something new. I think people don't actually spend the time looking at all the things they're currently doing and making them better. So one of the things I'm a believer of is it's a simple word really, make it better. How can we make this better? And if you keep on iterating on things, you'll make those small changes, whether it's a percent, 2%, 3%, which will make a difference in your business. I think that's my kind of top thing is really whatever you're doing at the moment, whatever tools you're using at the moment, whatever systems you're using at the moment, how can you make them better before you go and invest in doing new stuff?
100%. And this is where I think visionaries, they need to be more self-aware. And visionaries, they see a lot of shiny objects every day, and there is a lot of damage and disruption that we can create if we're not self-aware of what's going on today in terms of our rocks or projects, depending on the framework that you're using.
And I think it happens, right? I mean, people do this time and time again where they're just doing new things. If we had a guy in our peer group that anytime someone mentioned a book, he would be on Amazon buying this book. I spoke to his wife, I think 5 years ago, and she says, "Hey, look, I'm going to send you a photo of this bookshelf." And he had 100 books on his bookshelf, and she said to me, "He's never read any of those books." So it's like he's bought 100 books, but he hasn't taken the time to read them. He would have been better off just buying one book and just reading one book, you know. But it's that kind of stuff where you have that mindset of an entrepreneur where they're just always they've got the best intent, but it doesn't necessarily equal the outcome that they need to get to.
Yes, no, 100%. Now, the next question is really, really, powerful. And I do want to spend a little bit more time there, Matt, which is whether to sell or not sell, right? You have gone through that journey. You have experienced that journey. And I came back from DattoCon and IT Nation and Robin. And a lot of conversation in the channel is that there are a lot of buyers, but there are not enough MSPs left where there are healthy MSPs that buyers can buy. But then on the other side, the flip side, there are so many MSPs, and some data was shared that probably over 80% MSPs, they are making under 10% EBITDA. So the question there is, people are having hard time making decisions. Should I sell or should I wait? So I know you have done a lot of thinking there and you have experienced your own exit as well. So what thoughts you would like to share with the channel with an entrepreneur who is not able to make a decision in terms of whether to sell or not sell? What information you can share with them that can help them make that decision?
So I think coming back to your points of having companies that are only making 10% EBITDA now, right? I think one of the challenges that the businesses have, I've kind of banged on about this already around planning, right? But people really need to have some type of value creation plan. And what that looks like is by year one, my business is going to be worth X. By year two, my business is going to be worth this. An easy way to work it out is that most evaluations are done on EBITDA, recurring revenue, etc. So you kind of need to get to grasp with those metrics. What do those metrics need to look like for me to end up with this number? Back that up a level, one thing you probably need to work out is when is enough and how much money is enough, right? So people need to be thinking about, is that figure £2 million or US dollars? Is it five? Is it 10? Is it 20? And then how much of that are they going to expect to come from the sale of their biggest asset, which is their company? The second thing is like you said, there's a lot of hype in the marketplace of trying to get you to sell your company, right? Everyone's talking about it. They're making the hype to get you to sell your business. That's how they're going to be able to achieve their goals. But I think instead of following the hype, you need to think about what's the right time for you. So coming back to understanding what that number needs to look like, then working out when's that time right. And a lot of people will start to think of selling and then within 12 months they've sold. But my advice would be to like wait, pause, give it 24 months and maximize the value in your business. So when you do come to sell, you get the most out of it. So think like from a standpoint of timing, it's always interesting from talking to a business owner that's thinking about selling and then asking this question: why do you want to sell? And pretty much 75% of the time, people don't know why. Their friends sold their company, no one's left, they're frustrated, they've had, they've worked too much in their life, etc., etc., etc. So it's worth looking at, well, what are the other things you can do apart from selling your company, right? But then let's say you didn't sell. What does life look like? So one of the things you could do is you could build a leadership team in your organization so you have to do less. You could employ a CEO or a managing director. The likelihood is maybe a CEO or managing director will do the job better than you could do. And that's fine because you'll still end up with a win-win scenario for everyone. So I've seen that be really successful where organizations get a CEO in place, and it can make a very big difference to a business and generating value. At the same time, it can give that freedom back to the business owner who can get involved with the stuff he wants to get involved with in the business and where his skills lie. Another thing that I've seen businesses do successfully is where essentially they come to realization that they are okay being a lifestyle business. And actually, they are okay generating this amount of money, and that's going to generate this amount of money for the rest of their lives. What they can do in that type of scenario is just look at how do they remove themselves out of the business, right? So what are the things they need to do? Most people complain about having to deal with customers, having to deal with people, having to deal with finance stuff. And if you get good people in some of those areas of your business, you may not need to be involved as much.
100%. So what I heard so far, Mit, is so be self-aware of the hype because there is a reason for PE companies and people where they're going to benefit from a lot of M&A to keep that hype up. So you as an entrepreneur, you got to be self-aware of your own thinking and why and what that hype means for you. Second is basically, I heard you say more of, okay, what's your timeline? What's your number? Be very clear, like what is the value of your asset and what is the value that you want? What value is the right value for you in terms of your number, right? So everyone have a number, so know your number and then take a pause at least for 24 months. And if the feeling is that you know your why of thinking of exit is you feel burned out, you're kind of really running out of energy, the battery is low, then think of building an executive leadership team, could be CEO, could be COO, so that you have to do less. You have already put your money on the line for many, many years. So now, rather than really taking that exit where you're not achieving your outcomes that you expected as an entrepreneur, you can take some time to think and plan, and you can have your leadership team with the plan where that mutual value creation can be done in the next 24 months, where you win as an entrepreneur, as an investor entrepreneur, and the CEO or CEO, whoever is helping you get there, they also they're also part of, they take part of this the value creation, and everyone wins.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think that's just one thing I had to add. I just thought about there really. I generally say, and someone told me this, that all business problems come down to three things: people, structure, and process, right? And the number one thing tends to be people. So I would encourage people to basically get the best possible person you can in a leadership position and spend a lot of time finding that person. You will find that if you get the best possible person you can, an A player, then they will be able to make a fundamental difference in your business. And I think that makes work a lot more fun as well. Because some of the reasons people give up and they've had enough is that it's boring doing the same old thing again and again and again. So I think the strategy around getting the right people in your business is fundamental. And instead of hiring someone at $70,000, hire someone at $100,000. Get the best possible person you can, pay them more because they will deliver more.
100%. Yeah. But one thing that you mentioned is I have heard about people, process, technology. You mentioned people, structure, and process. What do you mean by structure?
So if you think of structure a bit like kind of formation in like a soccer team or football team, right? What I see done wrong a lot is that people may be part of the wrong team or may have a funny reporting line or may not be aligned to what you're trying to actually achieve. So a lot of the time, structurally, companies get this wrong. Um, with people, let's give you an example where, I don't know, you've got this really great engineer, and then all of a sudden you're like, this great engineer, we're going to make him a manager, and he's going to be a manager of all these people. And then 3 months or 6 months later, you're just kind of sitting there thinking, why is this manager so terrible? Because structurally, you've set him up to fail by not thinking of what does the structure above need to look like? Is he the right person for the role? Does that make sense for us as a business? Does he have the right capabilities and the right experience?
Mhm.
So that's what I kind of mean by structure is really the formation of your team. You know, who, if you think of it simpler, maybe who reports to who in like a normal business hierarchy.
So being that architect who can kind of really design and then see, okay, who fits where in terms of US terms, right person, right seat, or
Yeah.
like who can really deliver best result in each one of those areas where you need to. So you kind of basically positioning talent properly.
Yep. Exactly that. Positioning the right talent in the right place.
Yes. Now, my last question for you, where can people start if they are confused in terms of M&A? They're kind of struggling with that decision whether I sell or I don't sell. What action they have to take as a number one thing to start moving towards a right decision?
It all comes down to understanding what does their personal wealth target need to be and what do they want the legacy of their company to be after that, right? And I think a lot of people have very good intentions with what they want their legacy to be of their company, but they then go and sell their company to a private equity company, for example, and they're going to have different intentions than they would of maybe a trade buyer. But generally speaking, once you've signed a contract or a sale contract, you're not going to have any control or say to do anything. So sometimes the advice I give is that, look, you're not going to have any control after once you've sold. Just ensure that whatever you're selling for hits your personal wealth target. I think what I would really strongly advise people to do who aren't at the stage where they're ready to sell or not is put together some type of value creation plan so they know what their company needs to be worth. And I think I used to do this thing when I was younger. I used to get a bit of paper, and on one side I'd draw a line in the middle, pros on one side, cons on the other. So if you're thinking of selling your company, put the pros on one side, cons on the other, and just have a read of that list and have a think of that list carefully. Like, are they actually pros? Are they actually cons? That's what I'd suggest.
Awesome. And that's great advice that start with your own clarity in terms of your personal wealth target and what you really want as a legacy, and you will lose that control. So think proactively in terms of what is your number and what is your legacy needs and wants, and then be proactive about it. Where can people find you, Mitt? If people want to have a conversation with you one on one, what is the easiest way for people to get in touch with you?
So the easiest way is on LinkedIn. If you just search my name, Mit Patel, I'm there. I'm normally there pretty often. I'll also share my email address, Sunny. You can put it in the notes after and my LinkedIn profile. So yeah, just feel free to reach out. I think a company I'm a non-exec director for, Scalable, we have a value creation plan template. So I'll find the link for that, and we can also put it in the share note, the notes so people can just download that as well.
Awesome. We truly appreciate you coming to the show and sharing your thinking with the channel, with entrepreneurs in general. And as you said earlier, Mit, the best way to learn is from a coach who have that field experience where they have practiced what they're preaching. And that's the best way to learn from others. And you are that entrepreneur who created that best in class EBITDA, the company scaled it to that level where not too many MSPs are able to scale it. And there is just so much entrepreneurs can learn from you, and you are a true go-giver. And that's another piece that you can learn more from go-givers and a little bit more where they're sharing with honesty and transparency and really to show up in other people's lives to give, to add value to them. And that's where I think a lot of magic happens when a mentor-mentee will connect. Mentee can benefit from someone who have been there, done that, what they want to do, and they are true go-givers. So truly appreciate you, my friend.
No problem. And I think just one thing to add to there. Obviously, I did get to the state where I had a best-in-class MSP. That took me over, I think, 18 and a half years. But one thing to think about, over that time period, I had a lot of failures. And most of the time that you'll learn is from the mistakes that you make.
100%.
So that's also an interesting thing to look at when you are taking advice from people. Like, how do they know that thing works? And in my case, I know that thing works. It's probably because I've done it in several ways and it's failed before.
Yeah.
And I know the right way now.
Yeah, that is, well said. Thank you so much, Mit. And once
Thanks,
again,
man.
truly appreciate you coming to my show. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, Sonny. Take care.
Thank you for watching Sonny's Silver Linings. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. See you next time.